World Minute, a mid-minute podcast reviewing 997 sequel Jurassic Park 1 minute at a time. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And today we're here to discuss minute 71 of The Lost World. And Dave, ask and you shall be rewarded. We have a couple more teasers that have come out.
Oh yeah. We had one that came out online where Pratt's pretty much running towards the camera yelling, "Run, run, run." And then we got a second one with the T-Rex in a cargo container.
Yep. Looking at the run one first, as you said, we got Pratt sort of running out of the jungle, or seems to be running out of the jungle, doing his best Tom Cruise impression. And we get a nice big shot of the volcano behind him erupting, which is interesting. They sort of threw this straight out in one of these little teasers, where it's been sort of one of the not so much guarded secrets of the film that there's going to be this big volcano and this volcano action scene.
Yeah, I was surprised that they came out with it so quickly, but it makes sense because it's going to be a huge point of the marketing scheme. So it makes sense that they might get that out of the way quickly. You know?
Yeah. I wonder how many would be questioning now whether this is even Nublar or not. Just seeing the volcano with the dinosaurs, if they're instantly thinking, okay, now we're on another island or another location, just because the volcano itself hasn't really been addressed before. But hopefully the film does a good job of explaining all that. We get more. We've seen sort of the baby raptor, unsure where that lies canonically, but we got reveal some animals here running out of the jungle behind him, which is good because we get the first look of a Nublar compy.
Yes, we do.
Which
finally,
they're
hopping along around there behind Chris Pratt as he runs out of frame.
There's one freeze frame here I've seen. It was a screenshot, and it looks like they got like little tiger stripes on them.
Did they?
Yeah, very different colour to what we're all used to. Just as the other guy that we... Do we know who the other guy is? There's another man sort of running...
I don't believe we know him.
Yeah,
no. He's
there with Claire, and he sort of hides behind the gyrosphere just before the animals come crashing out. Which, again, we have a dead gyrosphere laying on its side, which I thought was interesting too. I don't know how a gyrosphere can sort of sit there on its side when you got the whole point of it is to have that weighted bottom section at the bottom of it, but the door's open on it. But yeah, the sort of compy's got that green tiger stripe on it, similar to the Jurassic 2 Raptor, or the Lost World Raptor. A little bit more yellows and greens in it.
Yeah, I saw a picture of the head. The head looked pretty good.
So yeah, that's interesting. We also get Triceratops here and a Stegosaur and Ankylosaurus coming out.
I gotta say, I think they fixed the tail issue on the Stegosaurus here. Looks like it's running with the tail raised up.
Yeah, I did notice that. Because we've been talking sort of in chat and elsewhere too about the designs. Looking at it here on HD, you can definitely see a little bit more vibrance amongst the creatures, but it's also possibly too here that the sun's been blackened out by ash, so it's not going to be as bright. So there's still the patasaurs and the trikes still sort of look that muddy grey brown colour, but it's one thing they're sort of locked into those Jurassic World designs now, because if they start changing stuff mid-trilogy, you're going to start getting inconsistencies like we did with the raptors, for instance, in the sequels. I'm not a real fan of the let's have action for action's sake and have the animals come crashing through those two trees that are lying on their side, because I don't see what the path of less resistance would be, crashing through them or just hitting the gyrosphere and killing our crew.
They do have some Patasaurus coming up behind them. You'll see if they're able to run before they get to them.
And it again just makes me wonder why all these animals are sort of near the volcano if it's already... You can already see the magma sort of coming out of the jungle behind them as they're running away from it. animals normally have a bit of an intuition and stay well clear of stuff like this before we even get an idea of what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. But still, from the looks of it, from the start of the trailer, it looked like the volcano's been erupting for a while now because there's the forest around them is already on fire.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can see lava bombs just laying around in the field.
Yep. But it looks like it's up on the top of Galmom's Valley there as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're sort of running down the field. Interesting too, I read in a couple of places how Bryce's Claire's sort of rocking the Sarah Harding sort of feel, with the long red hair sort of out and not in a ponytail or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and we've got sort of this guy here, we don't know who he is or what.
I heard speculation and I kind of like the idea of it. I don't know if I'm setting myself up for disappointment here. But one guy said that he kind of reminded him of R.B. Benton from the Lost World novel.
Oh yeah, yep. Is there a shot here with him wearing glasses?
Oh,
he does too. Yeah, he's got wide-frame glasses on. Yeah, well, it wouldn't be the first time they've used little borrowed names from the books.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be a good little way of getting him back in the franchise.
Mm-hmm. I do like the idea that they didn't bring kids to the island again. This mystery character looks like he's in his young 20s. Maybe late teens.
Yeah, we know from casting there's a couple of younger actors that are in the film.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to appear until later in the movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like they actually brought any kids to the island this time, you know?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the behind-the-scenes stuff we've seen from Real News, and it was sort of mainly Chris, Claire, or Chris and Bryce, I should say. But yeah, and we sort of been talking the last couple of weeks how we wanted to see a couple more of these little snippets of stuff before we get to the teaser. Unfortunately, they're ending each one with coming Thursday. So these are teasers for the teaser again, which okay, but it's what we're getting. So I would have just loved this stuff sort of stretched out over the last month or so, just because we're going to get this. We got Owen and the Raptor last week, and then we're going to get the trail this week, and then that's probably going to be it until February. We'll probably get nothing else again. So
that's kind of how it was for The Last Jedi. If you remember, we got the trailer in late last December, and then we didn't really get anything until late summer.
That was going to be a question for you.
There was a huge gap in marketing there.
Did we get the episode 7 trailer that same week as the Jurassic World teaser? That was a big thing, wasn't it? That they both dropped it the same week or something.
I can't remember where I was when the Jurassic World teaser dropped. I remember where I was when the Force Awakens teaser dropped, but yeah. Yeah,
because I'm pretty sure they're both Thanksgiving weekend.
No, they weren't.
Oh, okay.
I remember it was. I remember because I remember I was at Thanksgiving dinner when the trailer dropped, and I recorded it on my TV for Jurassic World.
Yep.
And then I remember I was sitting in my work truck at work when it was like October when the Force Awakens trailer dropped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember coming home from Thanksgiving dinner and fast forwarding through the football game because it wasn't a team that I paid attention to, and looking for the trailer. I think it was at halftime it aired.
Yep. All right, that's all right.
Yeah.
All right, so we got the second trailer as well. A lot shorter, this one. With the video's not here. It's sort of got Chris sort of standing at the top of Galmom's Valley. Looks very similar to where we see him running in that other clip, but nice looking valley in the background. We get an interior shot of a tunnel and a new animal come out, which I think everyone's sort of saying that's the Baryonyx.
Not everyone.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, no, this has got to be the new villain dinosaur, the Indoraptor."
Hmm. Yeah, it's sort of it's shot weird because it's coming out of the black tunnel, but there's a real bright light sort of shining on it as well, and yeah.
It looks like it's coming out of a tunnel, and you can see flame. There's a flame
Yeah.
off to the side. I wonder if this is like a service tunnel that runs underneath the park, and magma's already kind of encroached into it.
Yeah, yep. Yeah. Well, we've seen the bunkers that seem to have elevator shafts that go down to lower levels.
Yeah.
If this is say the Indoraptor, then size-wise, the tunnel shaft will be probably gyrosphere size as well.
Yeah. I don't think this is the Indoraptor.
No.
Only because I think it looks like it's on Isla Nublar, and the Indoraptor I think is supposed to be in the Lockwood Manor.
Yeah, yep.
I think one of the early teasers that Universal put out said that there's going to be an intense chase scene involving the Indoraptor and the Manor.
Yeah, because not all this film's taken part on Nublar.
No.
Yeah, and it doesn't look anything like a raptor either. You'd think even if they're going to hybrid it, there'd still be characteristics of the raptor in it.
I would say that it looks kind of like the Dino Crack from, you remember that early 2000s movie Dino Crack from Sci-Fi? That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I suppose
Which
we haven't
makes
really...
sense, because essentially the Spinosaurs were basically dinosaur crocodiles, like crocodile dinosaurs, you know?
Yeah.
Had a long crocodile snout, and they were very amphibious dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we haven't really talked about it either. We got sort of a tweet last week how Bayonet really wants the baryonyx to be in the film, and how this sort of...
The Spanish dinosaur in Bayonna's is Spanish.
Mm. Yep. But the money shot for this little trailer is Owen and Claire opening up a container on the back of a truck, and Rexy, a Tyrannosaur, lying in there, either ready for transport or just being transported.
Now, I have a theory that this shot was reversed, and that they're actually closing the grate here instead of opening it, and then we get the cut that says, where Owen says this is going to be awesome.
As in he's saying that just as they've closed the doors and they're about to move out.
Yeah, because if you look around in the background there, you can see other cargo containers.
Yeah,
so I think they're expecting them to be shipping the dinosaurs to Isla Sorna, but then they don't, as we've talked about.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, because there's other trucks and containers all around them. I hope we see how she gets in there.
I do too, honestly.
Because otherwise we're going to get to it when we get to our Rex captured here in a few minutes' time. If that thing's tranquilized and laying on the ground, how do you get it into a cage?
I gotta say, looking back at the HD version of the trailer, I love the color palette of the jungle here. It's so rich. It doesn't have any kind of funky filters like
behind Chris.
Jurassic World had. What's that?
Behind Chris.
Behind all of them, especially like when that dinosaur stampede was going on. It was such a rich color palette, you know? It was rich, it was natural, it was realistic. Didn't have any kind of funky filters on it like Jurassic World had. You know?
Yeah, and that's one thing too we're certainly looking at here. Not so much, or along with content of the trailer, it's also getting our first look at how Bayonna's filming it. Lighting sets, like the Tyrannosaur, for instance. When those doors open, it's sort of, you think it's sort of bright LED light or something inside a container, where it's just sunlight coming in through the top.
I don't think it's sunlight. I think it's is it sunlight? I can't tell now.
Well,
I thought it looked like it was nighttime, and they just were shining a spotlight on it.
Yeah, well, when they're opening or closing, whichever, the doors, you get a shot down beside to another container beside, and it looks like bright sunlight coming down from above. But
because the way the shadows are, I think it looks like it's a spotlight because the shadows on the trucks behind Chris Pratt aren't directly on the top of the truck; they're on the side.
Yeah, it's sort of two. It almost looks like two completely different scenes because you got a couple of those dark sections and then these other sections where it's really bright.
There you go with the editing again, you know.
Yeah, and whether this is in the hold of
edited.
Yeah, whether this is in the hold of a ship, whether the trucks are on top of the boat. I think we got. It wasn't at Hawaii, but I'm pretty sure we got some sort of image of the ship they were using, a big container ship.
We did.
Yeah,
it was. It was like one of those giant container ships that they shipping containers on.
Mm.
And it was huge. It looked like they were trying to take as many dinosaurs off the island as possible.
Yeah, a boat like that you'd get a lot of them on board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just good to see some more little tidbits here before we get the trailer in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And on the soapbox again, fans just need to be patient. Last week, Universal sort of accidentally released a tweet or an image saying this Thursday, which was for the 1st of December, not the 7th. And a lot of people are jumping up and down. Universal, you suck, and everything else, but
it was for Thursday, just not last Thursday.
Yeah.
You know? Last Thursday was Marvel's big moment.
Yeah. Yep.
But I will say that looking at Rexy here, I mean, even though it's just a front shot that we're getting, she looks healthier than she did in Jurassic World. She looks like she's been chomping on some Apatosaurus or something like that, you know?
Mm. Yeah, she seems fuller.
She looks a little thicker.
Yep.
Speaking of the CGI, though, you mentioned it earlier how even that it doesn't look finished, and I will agree that it doesn't look finished, but from what we're seeing already, it does look good. Mm. It looks very good.
Yeah, and we're 6 months away from it. It's not. It's one thing. A lot of effects heavy films when they when they release their trailers so far out, there's going to be issues. Look at what Marvel's dealing with at the moment with Thanos. So there's no real need to complain about this stuff at this point in time.
Or just recalling back to Jurassic World, they didn't even have any of the final placements on everything when they revealed the first teaser. The first teaser showed when they showed the mosasaur jumping out of the water. It was just the basic plate background. It wasn't actual. They didn't have any of the buildings in there yet. They didn't have the monorail in there yet. They didn't have anything in there yet.
Yeah, we got several layers added to it between then and release. So
it's basically just the background plate, the mosasaur, and the finished, or not finished, but the work in progress of the stadium around it. Yeah, I suspect this is still very much work in progress, but I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. I think the effects will be a lot better than Jurassic World.
Yeah, yep. Because it seems like ILM are sort of doing more this time around as well, where they only done the IREX in Jurassic World.
Well, from what I heard was that ILM had their B team working on Jurassic World, while their primary was working on Star Wars.
Yeah, yep.
And so I'm not sure who's doing the effects on this one. I presume it's... Oh, no, that's right. There's like 3 different effects houses working on this one, since ILM's probably also working on The Last Jedi, probably putting finishing tweaks on that one while they were doing this one, you know? Because The Last Jedi's, those their effects are finished, but while ILM is still working on this movie, I presume.
reading a couple of the comments here with the videos, trying to pull a little bit away. It's sort of interesting here. There's one person that's a little concerned that with Bayona doing a good job directing, they're worried that Colin and Derek's script is going to let his film down, which I'd certainly back and jump on the back of that, because I was not a fan of the Jurassic World story, but I'll reserve judgment until it's released. And
the biggest problem with that I had with the Jurassic World script was the dialogue. Really, the dialogue was terrible.
Mm.
The writing was okay. The story was fine. It wasn't what I would have gone for, but then again, everybody had a different idea of what their Jurassic Park 4 was going to be.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I just hope the dialogue has been polished up here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of having the loose ends making films to be a trilogy instead of their own story. Yes, if you want to make a trilogy, that's fine. Have a couple of little loose ends that you can pick up in the sequel, but just the whole InGen thing, Barry is still sleeping in or hiding in a log or something, we don't know. All that sort of stuff is just picked up and then dropped.
No, Barry, he was there in the hangar when in Costa Rica at the end of the movie, but for some reason they just didn't bring him back for Fallen Kingdom.
Yep. So, yeah. Alright, anything else on the trails you want to talk about before we get into 71?
I think we're good.
Alright, we've got the big one coming in a couple of days, so that should be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll definitely have to devote an entire episode just for that.
Yeah. As we entered minute 70 of Lost World, the group had stopped for a rest. Nick and Sarah had sat down, and Rowan had left his shotgun behind. As we start minute 71, we see Sarah removing some pebbles from her shoe. At 70 minutes and 3 seconds, we cut back to the group of hunters sitting down resting. Dieter walks between them, heading up a small rise. At 70 minutes and 9 seconds, he walks past Carter and says, "Hey Carter, I'm going to the ladies' room. You wait for me here." As Dieter walks off into the forest, Carter comes back from his backpack holding a bottle of water, singing to himself as headphones blare music into his ears. He didn't hear a word of it. At 70 minutes and 24 seconds, we cut to the forest. Dieter's walking between a fallen log and a stump, looking for a place to go to the toilet. 70 minutes and 34 seconds, he finds a spot and starts unbuckling his pants and pulls out a wad of toilet paper. Before he can continue, he hears an animal. He looks left and right, and then heads off in the direction that the animal sound's coming from. At 70 minutes and 50 seconds, he heads into a dark area between two large redwoods. The scurrying can be heard close now, and he's surrounded by ferns. As he leans into the ferns close to investigate, a small creature lunges out and snarls at him. Dieter falls back, terrified. For a moment anyway. With his back against the redwood, he points his rifle straight at the small creature, but then recognises it and laughs to himself. And this ends minute 71 of Lost World. Trailing off from 70. We got a couple more shots here of just Nick staring at Roland's gun. And it was interesting, we discussed last minute how the script had a little bit longer scene with Roland sort of contemplating the blood on the jacket, and he removed his shoe to dump some stones out of it. But we see Sarah doing that exact thing here, so they sort of merged Roland stuff back into Sarah and had her taking her shoe off and emptying some stones out of it.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense because Roland's boots look like they're a bit taller than Sarah's. Sarah's looks like she has moccasin-style boots here, whereas Roland's were like 8-inch tall boots.
Yeah, sort of lace-up
stuff.
Yep.
Same as Ludlow's, it looked like.
Mm.
They're not the same exact brand, but they were similar height to Ludlow's boots.
Yep. But then we cut to Dieter walking through the group of hunters. They're all sort of laying on the ground resting.
One guy throws his water bottle to another guy.
Yeah, yep. And he sort of walks up past Carter, he's sort of sitting on a small rise at the back of the group. and tells him he's going to the ladies' room and for Carter to wait for him here. And Carter sort of sits up from getting a water bottle out of his bag, and we hear the Spanish music blaring across his earphones, and he starts...
Yeah, that's, what is... I think it's Tres Torres. I don't know, I'm probably butchering it. But yeah, I can post it up on our wiki when this minute goes live, or on our Facebook when this minute goes live.
Yep. Before we keep on going, speaking of Facebook and Instagram, we crossed over the 300 likes on Facebook, and we've grown significantly on Instagram too.
Oh yeah, 800 and counting.
Yeah, so thanks a lot to everyone there that is liking the content coming out.
Thanks for reminding me, man.
Yeah, it's very much appreciated. Well, you just reminded me by saying it, so.
No problem.
We were supposed to bring that up last episode. We do apologise.
Yeah.
And also, thanks for the feedback we're getting on the Facebook group too.
And we're starting to get a lot more feedback on the Instagram as well, which is great.
Yeah. Yep.
Some comments, interacting with us.
Yep.
That's fun.
And some stuff we'll get to when we get to the worker village. Lorenzo's sort of pointing out some of the behind the scenes interviews and that took part in the worker village. But we'll look at that more when we get to the worker village stuff. So, yeah, the Spanish blaring from the headphones. Carter didn't hear a word of what Dita said. And then we cut to Dita. He's walking out between two larger stumps and that sort of bridge redwood that we've seen in shots before. He unshoals his backpack and drops it to the ground, walks a few more metres before taking off his tactical vest, and sort of drops that to the ground as well. So he is sort of leaving a little trail for himself here.
Yeah. And of course, Carter's not paying attention to any of it. I don't even think he noticed that he left.
Yeah. Leads to wondering what their relationship was before, if they'd just come together. This is your local driver when we get to the island, or something like that. Obviously not the same sort of connection as what we got with Roland and RJ. Just all mercenaries in it for the money. But he's Dita's found a nice little spot here with some ferns, and if you sort of look over his back, you can see the stream that he's going to fall down in a little bit. Just a silhouette of it anyway. Pulls a large wad of toilet paper out from his pants and begins to undo them. And he's acting. I was going to say he's acting like he is almost leaving it too late.
Yeah. No, it's funny that I remember getting in an argument with another guy one time whether or not that baggie was cocaine.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, dude, it's obviously toilet paper. He said he's going to the bathroom. He's like, yeah, but the baggie looks white. It looks like a white powder. I'm like, how can you tell it's a white powder?
Wow. Yeah, well, nothing before. If we'd seen him maybe snort a line or something back at camp, then yeah, you'd get the idea. But nothing's been led to any sort of drug addiction or any sort of drugs at all.
Yeah.
And it's sort of
a little snarl here, and
startles him, and he sort of picks up his gun, aims to the left, and then swings around to the right, which is sort of the start of the disorientation when you start sort of spinning around like this. And it sort of gives a hint that there's more than one animal you can hear too.
Yeah.
And it's sort of it's interesting. He pulled the wad of toilet paper from his pants where after the night before where it's been pouring rain. You'd think he'd have that sort of stuff tucked away in a dry place, but
it wasn't a plastic baggie, so I'm sure they kept the water out.
Yeah. But Dita moves off past some trees and heads into a really dark area here, like a small rocky canyon or something. It's probably just.
It's just I think he's just amongst some really large trees because the sun's also setting.
Yeah.
So it's not a direct sunlight coming down from the trees, and the trees are really wide. So you can easily get some dark patches.
Yeah, like two big root systems of a tree or something. because we've seen before, there's a few patches of redwoods that are sort of growing real close together.
Yeah.
And there's sort of a little bit of artificial light in here too, just sort of shining down on the ferns beside him.
Yeah, we get the raptor leitmotif come back, that little whistle.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great little red herring here, as we're meant to believe that it's a raptor coming up on Dieter here, because we've brought them up now, so now they're out there in the air waiting to be brought into the movie.
Yeah, and it definitely feels like a tense scene too, just him sort of coming around behind these trees. And almost identically to what we've seen in Jurassic Park with Muldoon, he sort of has a set of ferns here he moves towards, and then all of a sudden a little head, or it doesn't look little at the time, but a head pokes out from the ferns and snarls at him, and it's only when he sort of jumps back in fright, we get a nice side shot of him and the compy in between these ferns. We actually see, nope, it's a little one.
Yep.
And Dieter sort of realises this too, and sort of after the initial scare, sort of laughs to himself and shakes his head, realising sort of it's the same animal that he, not the same animal, but the same type of animal that he zapped earlier back at the game trail.
Now, I also have heard it brought up, and it kind of goes more into like Jaws: The Revenge, that this was actually the same compy that he zapped, and the compy was getting revenge.
Yeah, I'd heard that too. I wonder if that's from original script, because we don't see it this minute, it's next minute where he actually pulls out his taser and tries to zap the creature. In the script he actually does and wounds it, and it sort of scampers off wounded, and then when they return to finish off the job, they're sort of led by the wounded one. So I wonder if that's where that sort of come from initially, but...
That's a possibility, that's where that theory comes from, yeah.
Yeah. Because now they've sort of travelled a day inland, it's... I don't know, the hunting patterns of a compy if they'd travel that far. But I do like the Jaws of Revenge little thing. Just this animal's hell bent on revenge, and it's going to take out all Dieter's family members. But that's the end of the minute. We've got two short ones here. It's just pretty much Dieter walking around lost. So anything else on 71 you want to get to before we get out of here for the day?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
Alright guys, let's get the hell out of here.
Contact details are on the website, thelostworldminute.com. You can email feedback to thelostworldminute@gmail.com, Facebook, The Lost World Minute, Twitter @TheLostWorldMinute, and Instagram, The Lost World Minute.
Easy to remember.
Yeah, very easy to remember. Right. David, thank you for joining me for this record.
You're welcome.
And we'll be back. I've been Brad.
I'm Dave.
And we'll talk to you all later. Goodbye.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
It is absolutely imperative that we work with the Costa Rican Department of Biological Preserves to establish a set of rules for the preservation and isolation of that island. These creatures require our absence to survive, not our help. And if we could only step aside and trust in nature, life